Yurok people are salmon people. They have always fished, and they will always fish.
Our people have been fishing for salmon since time immemorial. Many methods of fishing. Creator put us here, to look after the resources, and salmon being one of them, and their habitat, that we are charged with their protection and their preservation. All year round, we have some type of fish that feeds us. At one time, we had our own little utopia here, and there was never a shortage of fish. We never had to migrate. We lived here along the river year round. We have Chinook salmon, which is known as the king salmon. We have silver salmon, which is known as coho. We have the green sturgeon, and a few white sturgeon that come into our rivers, and then we have the lamprey eel. We as a people understand through traditional science the balance of life and the necessity for the balance of life.
Understanding the balance of the Klamath River has taken thousands of years.
We also have something that no one else can bring to the table, and that's the steep history of Yurok management and our culture and traditions. We've got a tremendous amount of resources of Yurok people who have had thousands of years of living on the landscape and in our area and on the river, and have very significant responsibilities when it comes to ceremonies and protecting the landscape. All of those bring something in addition to just the professional or technical capabilities that the tribe has. They bring meaning to what we do.
Managing the salmon runs means keeping them in balance.
Balance is a necessity. And when you take something from the environment, the ecosystem begins to unravel. And components have been removed from our ecosystem, from our environment, that has put us in jeopardy of extinction as a people, because something was removed from our balance, our way of life. And so we're charged with restoring, rebuilding, putting back to the natural state our environment and the habitat of the resources of food that feed us and give us life.
The management of the Klamath salmon fishery is now largely the responsibility of the Yurok Tribe, along with other federal and state agencies.
Well, the Yurok Fisheries program was developed in the early 90s, and it was based upon the need for the Yurok Tribe to assume responsibility for management that up until then had been conducted by the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
The Yurok Tribe earned the right to manage their fishery through a series of hard-won battles, both in the courts and on the river.
So the chronology was that there were fish wars that occurred in the late 70s, where Yurok people asserted and affirmed their rights to fish.
Through a lot of pain, physical fights on the river, on the water, when we exercised our fishing rights with our gill nets, that we were able to win our rights, that we are one of 2 tribes with a right to gill net that I know of in the state of California.
We didn't give up anything. We never have given up anything, and that the Yurok tribe had a right to do what we always have done and meet our needs completely.
A few key legal decisions ended up creating a need for Yurok people to establish a new Yurok tribal government.
In 1988, the Hoopa-Yurok Settlement Act divided the Hoopa Valley Reservation, the joint reservation, and created what is now the Yurok Indian Reservation. The goal of the tribe has always been, early on, to figure out how to obtain and how to protect a certain allocation of fish. The 1993 solicitor's opinion regarding the fishing rights of the Yurok and Hoopa Valley tribes was a significant milestone in the development of the Yurok Tribe's fisheries program. The Department of Interior and the Department of Commerce determined that the Yurok and the Hoopa Valley tribe had a right to 50% of the harvestable surplus of fish from the Klamath Basin. Of that 50%, the Yurok are allocated 80%. So the Yurok tribe is the single largest harvester of Klamath fish. But after the program was formed, we quickly realized that the right to catch fish is only part of the equation. Actually, it's probably a minor part of the equation as compared to the obligation that Yurok people have to protect fisheries.
As Yurok people, you know, it's kind of, we've had this relationship since the beginning of time with the river and with the land and the rocks and the air we breathe, and it's a reciprocal type of relationship. You know, the river and the mountains have always provided for us and kept us alive, you know, in our times of need since the beginning of time. You know, when we see the river hurting, or when we see a species of fish hurting, you know, it's our obligation to do whatever we can during their time of need to help them. We practiced our ceremonies, and we were thankful for what we had, and we prayed that abundance for the next 2 years, and for the whole world to be in balance. That was the method we used back then. And we also had some pretty strict management practices.
Fish for your family and what you're going to eat, and don't take more than you're going to use.
We still do our dances, and we still are trying to balance the earth and still using that method, but we also have this new method called science that is powerful, and it's one of the tools that we have now to try and fix the world. And I'm lucky enough to be able to you know, use both of those tools.
Well, the fisheries program currently has, it depends on the time of year, but we have about 30 to 50 employees, typically about 16, 17 biologists working for us, and then several dozen fisheries technicians.
The restoration work that I'm directly involved in with the fisheries program provides about 12 full-time permanent jobs for the tribe, where in the summer these young men and women are working doing on-the-ground restoration. In the winter they're doing either tree planting or fish monitoring, or a combination of work that keeps them directly related to the lands where they live.
The fisheries and watershed restoration programs address a wide range of needs.
The need to do watershed restoration, the need to begin to work on water management issues in the basin and on both the Klamath and the Trinity sides, the need to do habitat restoration in stream, to survey our streams, to do biological monitoring, to do monitoring of water quality, and on and on and on.
Since 8, 1 net, 2.
Harvest management is a critical component of what we do, but it's just one of many aspects of our fisheries program.
How many you get?
Today, the fisheries program is one of the largest departments in the Yurok Tribe.
The tribe itself has other departments outside of the fisheries department, such as our watershed restoration department, that deals with primarily upslope issues.
We're out here spreading hay, doing sites, excavating, decommissioning roads to help the fish habitat.
I like it because we're saving the fish, trying to help secure more fish for my kids, my grandkids, and the next generations to come. Just trying to keep it going.
I like to catch the Chinook king salmon, you know, and I enjoy those. The spring salmon are the best because they're real juicy, and you know, they got a lot of oils to them.
And then, of course, we have an environmental program that is also separate from fisheries, that does a lot of good work in regards to water quality monitoring and trying to minimize any land or water management activities that have negative effects on water quality.
One of the things that the environmental program does is coordinate the annual Klamath River cleanup.
So it's really a team effort amongst the various departments to try and meet the needs of protecting and restoring the tribe's fishery resources.
Part of this effort involves carrying out some basic research on fish ecology.
Mainly been working on a coho ecology project, which is looking at how the juvenile coho are utilized in the lower part of the Klamath. Working in conjunction with the Yurok Tribe and a few other entities upriver, and they're tagging fish, and then we're trying to recapture fish in this lower area. Well, the unique thing about working with the tribe is we have the opportunity to do monitoring both pre and post restoration efforts. By doing this monitoring work, we're able to get an understanding of those types of habitats, and then we can use that type of information to direct our restoration efforts to be most productive for the dollar. And then once we do that restoration work, we have the opportunity to monitor it afterwards to see how effective that is, so we can learn from those opportunities.
So we have the responsibility from the Tribal Council to address all the issues that could be impacting the tribe's fishery, and these range from dam removal, water management, restoration projects. There's a wide range of issues that we deal with, and spatially there's an extremely large area where we deal with protecting and preserving the tribe's fishery resource. What we strive to do is to let the results of our research guide our restoration activities. And a perfect example of that is that our research has shown that these off-channel habitats are extremely important to fish, coho and steelhead in particular, from throughout the Klamath Trinity Basin. So a lot of our restoration efforts have focused on creating these off-channel habitats, improving the complexity of the habitat by introducing wood and planting trees in the riparian areas of these lower Klamath off-channel type habitats.
I think the most beneficial part we've learned from our monitoring work is the off-channel type influence that's so important to these lower type areas. These lower areas used to be, you know, beaver influenced, oxbow lakes and beaver ponds. And, you know, through time, you know, levees have constricted things down, straightened things out, and we're really getting an understanding of these off-channel components. By creating more areas, you create healthier fish.
And the work that we are doing, we see a pretty immediate response. We put wood in the channels that have been depleted of wood through past logging and land use activities, agriculture, and we see fish using those areas the next year. We build side channels and log jams that complement each other through flow patterns, and we see fish using those features immediately.
It's like boom, you do the work, and then boom, there's results right away, which is cool.
Okay, we're now standing at McGarvey Creek. It's a lower part of the Klamath, and this is our downstream migrant pipe trap.
We're trapping fish, measuring, getting a weight. What we're catching out here: cutthroat, coho, steelhead. We re-release them upstream and see if we recatch them, or maybe they'll go up the creek further and stay. Then we'll see if we catch them in the next couple weeks.
Much of the research effort is directed towards counting both juvenile and adult salmon and trout.
Right now we're running a screw trap in Blue Creek to get out-migrant estimates for the out-migrating juvenile Chinook. We've been running the screw trap for, say, 15, 17 years now. This is a beautiful system, you know, very dynamic, you know, lots of fish, lots of big fish return. Blue Creek plays an important role in summertime, midsummer, late summer. This is one of the only streams that stays flowing year-round, and the water temperature is a lot lower than the main Klamath River.
Having a job that works to restore fish populations is a cultural and economic win-win.
So being a part of this, the Yurok Tribe's kind of, you know, takeover of the management of the lower Klamath River, you know, it means a lot to me. You know, especially being a tribal member biologist, there aren't very many of us. There's going to be a lot more tribal member biologists, and you know, we're just kind of paving the way. And I think that some of the greatest work is probably yet to be done.
Let's go.
There's a lot of bright young kids out there that I've seen who are really interested in you know, fisheries and wildlife and things like that. And, I'm excited to see this next younger generation come in and step into these roles as, you know, biologists and managers, and really become a part of fixing the Klamath.
And besides, the work is often fun.
Where do you get paid to work with fish, especially if, you know, you're into that field of fisheries and stuff? So they gave me a new look on fish and stuff too, you know.
The Yurok Tribe is concerned about all of the species, all the anadromous fish species that migrate through the reservation. We're also really concerned about the wild populations of spring Chinook in the South Fork Trinity and the Salmon River. So our efforts are typically much more broad-based than a lot of other fisheries agencies, and we're definitely very concerned about the species that others pay less attention to, such as the lamprey and the green sturgeon.
Anything that restores the river that's positive for salmon is probably going to be good for green sturgeon.
When your waters are unhealthy and your rivers are unhealthy, everything around it becomes unhealthy. So whether it be the animals or the fish or the people, that when your river gets sick, everything that lives around it gets sick. And so a free river is a healthy river.
We see these creeks as a vital resource to the culture and the folks of the river, and that in their current condition they're not supporting the people of the land, and that it needs help. We're essentially working as a medical team doing repair on a patient that is very sick.
In the bigger picture, it's only gonna help things as far as the fish population, you know, and that's the ultimate goal, is to try to restore these lower Klamath tributaries to where they're gonna hold fish and water year round. I mean, that's the bigger picture, and I'm glad I'm part of that. And, you know, hopefully my kids have some fish to fish when they get older.
It's about balance and fixing the earth. And right now, the river's broken, the earth is broken, and it needs to heal. And part of that obligation that's reflective in our culture and history, and that's key to our ceremonies, is to figure out how to heal the Klamath River and the basin.
We're out of balance, and we need to work harder than ever to restore balance. Something that the whale did was it brought many agencies and entities together to work together for a common cause. So I believe that through working together, communication are our best chances to succeed in restoring balance to our people and to our land and to the river.
If you want the river to be protected and you're worried about what may be happening to your river, you need to do something about it. You know, to stay involved and be active, and you know, appreciate this gift that has been given to us. And you know, if you can, work hard every day to try and make our world a better place.